Hello everyone, we shall start with a new chapter, chemical bonding. We know that there are 108 elements available in nature. Out of these, there are some elements called as noble gases. Now why these are called as noble gases? Because they are inert. What do you mean by inert? They do not react. They do not react. What makes them not to react? It is, we say they have 8 electrons in their outer shell. So if they have 8 electrons in the outer shell, we say the atom is very stable. So we talk about the stability of atoms based on what? Based on the number of electrons present in the outermost shell. How many electrons should be present in the outermost shell? 8 electrons. So what happens when there are 8 electrons in the outermost shell? The atom becomes stable. It means it will not be reactive. So other than noble gases, rest other elements in the periodic table do not have 8 electrons in their outermost shell. It means they are unstable. If they are unstable, to become stable, what do? They try to gain the 8 electrons in their outermost shell. So this play of gaining the electrons and losing the electrons leads us to understand chemical bonding chapter. So we need to understand better why the atoms react, what makes them to react. So if they are reacting, what is the nature of the bonds formed between them? So we shall look into all of these in the coming chapter called as chemical bonding. So what is a chemical bond? A chemical bond is defined as the force of attraction which holds the atoms together in a molecule. To explain why a chemical bond is formed, different theories were put forward by different people. One theory was put forward by Cosell and Lewis, and hence it was called as Cosell-Lewis approach. Similarly, Octet Rule, hybridization, VSEPR theory and valence bond theory were put forward to explain why a chemical bond is formed. Okay, coming to Lewis-Cosell approach. So what did Lewis and Cosell tell? They said that the positively charged particle, the positively charged thing which is present in an atom is placed at the center, and the outer shell is placed in the and the outer shell is shown as a cube. I think you are able to see a cube here. So this darkened circle in the center is called as kernel, which is positively charged, and the outermost shell is shown by the 8 vertices of this particular cube. Now what is the capacity of the outer shell? Maximum capacity is 8. Okay, if you take sodium whose atomic number is 11, outer shell will have only 1 electron. So here electron is shown in the outer shell as one of the vertices of the cube. In case of noble gases, there are 8 electrons in the outermost shell. So this is the positive charge of the noble gas, and the 8 electrons are shown here as the vertices of this particular cube. And this concept is called as Cosell-Lewis approach. What did he say? What did he tell? He said that an atom is considered to be a positively charged kernel, and the outer shell has capacity to accommodate a maximum of 8 electrons. Hence, he assumed that 8 electrons occupy the corners of a cube. In sodium, only 1 electron occupies the corner of the cube because valency of sodium is 1. And in noble gases, all the 8 electrons are occupied by the electrons. Okay, in the corners of the cube. And this approach is called as Cosell-Lewis approach. Now, according to Lewis, atoms form chemical bonds. Why do they form chemical bonds? To attain stable octet configuration. Now, what is stable octet configuration? Octet is to have 8 electrons in the outermost shell of an atom. Okay, and Lewis represented the outer shell electrons in the form of dots. Now coming to Lewis symbols, he represents outer shell of the electrons only. Lewis symbol, they represent the outer shell containing electrons only. Inner shell electrons are not represented here because they do not participate in bonding. So the Lewis symbols of second period elements are given below. Which are the second period elements? It is lithium, beryllium, boron, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine and neon. So how many electrons are present in the outermost shell of lithium? It is 1. So what is the electronic configuration of lithium? Lithium atomic number 2. So 1s. One second. What is atomic number of lithium? It is 3. So what is its electronic configuration? 1s2, 2s1. So which is the outermost shell? Outermost shell is 2s. How many electrons it is having? Only 1. So outermost shell electrons are shown here. Lithium is having 1 electron in its outermost shell. Beryllium is having 2 electrons in its outermost shell. Boron is having 3 electrons. So they are shown here in the form of dots. So these dots surrounding the atoms represent which electrons? Valence electrons. Okay. The valency of an atom is equal to the number of dots or 8 minus the number of dots. Okay. The Lewis dot structures do not indicate the type of bond formed between the two atoms. They just tell you how many electrons are present in the outermost shell. They do not indicate which type of bond is formed between the two atoms. Now coming to octet rule. According to octet, atoms combine with each other by transfer of valence electrons from one atom to another atom in order to attain what? Stable octet configuration. So what does octet rule say? According to octet, atoms combine with each other by transfer of valence electrons. Why do atoms combine? Because they want to have 8 electrons in their outermost shell. So why do they want to have 8 electrons? Because they want to attain stable octet configuration. So based on the transfer of electrons from one atom to another atom, we get different types of chemical bonds. And which are the different types of chemical bonds? We have ionic or electrovalent bond, we have covalent bond, coordinate bond and hydrogen bond. So coming to ionic bond, it is also called as electrovalent bond. What is electrovalent bond? It is a bond formed between two atoms due to complete transfer of one or more electrons from one electropositive atom to electronegative atom. So what is ionic bond? It is a bond formed by complete transfer of electrons from one atom to another atom. Okay, and which is the one atom which gives electron called as electropositive atom. And one which gains the electron is called as electronegative atom. And what type of transfer is here? There is complete transfer of electrons. Usually, this type of bond is formed between metals and non-metals. So S block and P block elements, they combine, giving you ionic bond. And what is the nature of ionic bond? It is a very strong bond and electrostatic forces of attractions are present between the atoms. So what is ionic bond? It is an electrostatic force of attraction present between two atoms due to what? Due to complete transfer of one or more electrons. What is another name of ionic bond? It is electrovalent bond. Now coming to electrovalency. So what is electrovalency? It is nothing but valency itself. But since it is used in ionic bond, we call it as electrovalency. So what is electrovalency? It is the number of electrons transferred during ionic bond formation is called as electrovalency. Sodium gives 1 electron, therefore its electrovalency is +1. Chlorine gets 1 electron, therefore its electrovalency is -1. Generally, we call it as valency only.